The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hi, this is Ken Gidge, and this is The Art of Politics, the only show of its type. Today we have a guest, but first let me get to the Republican. Bad Republicans, good Democrats.
He's a legend in his own mind.
That's right, you know it.
But before we get started, Ken, you're running your mouth
You
as
see,
usual.
can
Before
we-
we introduce the guest, I want the guest to understand.
Yes.
Anything that comes out of your mouth is fiction.
Yes.
Anything comes out of my mouth is fact.
Right.
Because I bring the computer
Yes.
to shut you
And
up.
you know.
By the way, welcome.
Yeah,
I
thank you.
understand Chris Williams. It's a pleasure.
Yeah,
I understand
well,
you're a candidate for mayor.
No, you're not
I
getting.
took it right away
You're
from
not
him.
getting away
What are
with
you
that.
talking about?
You're not getting away with
What's
that.
the problem?
Fact, fiction. People are watching this show.
But they know
you think
the
they
truth.
believe you?
No, they know
They
the
don't
truth.
believe you.
How many
Hi,
lunches
Chris.
do you owe me?
You shut up.
How
You
many
be quiet
lunches do
now.
you owe
All
me
right.
from the
All
garbage
right,
you
we'll
spill?
talk about that later. We're going to do another.
Chris,
All right.
you're running for mayor, huh? That's awesome.
Can I introduce him?
I
Would
just
you
did.
mind? All right, okay.
I just did. He's a mayor. He's a candidate for mayor.
Yes,
I
but-
had the opportunity to meet him a couple of times here in Nashua.
Where? How?
At the at one of the committee
We crossed
hearings I
paths
went to.
through,
Yeah, we
yeah,
crossed
at-
paths
at the State
At
House,
one of
through
the
different
state house, and then a couple of hearings here, meetings here in Nashua. And he's pretty big, well known in the city by all.
He certainly is.
Yeah, and I'm impressed with him. And I
Chamber
live
of
in
Commerce,
Londonderry.
ran the Chamber of Commerce. He took the Chamber of Commerce from a good Chamber of Commerce to something that's, well, I would say New Hampshire-wise. They look at Nashua and they think of the Chamber of Commerce. So that's one big business, and to move that from a Nashua Chamber of Commerce to a point where all of New Hampshire is looking at it and using some of your tactics, and some of the things that you do, that's great. Why are you running for mayor?
And to that point, there are
Yes.
over 60 chambers of commerce across the state of New Hampshire. And our chamber was by far the most active in Concord, actively testifying in hearings and working behind the scenes on issues
That's
that are
right.
important to Nashua. So for 9 years, I got to know Concord pretty well. And 4 years prior to that, I actually worked in the State House. I was a legislative aide to the Senate President back from 2000 to 2004.
And who was that?
Arthur Clem was the Senate President, and then Tom Eaton followed him. So I served under both of those Senate presidents for
Well, I
4
guess
years.
so. Then he knows the place better than we do.
I know the
You
State
know
House
what
pretty
I like
well.
about him?
Right.
He's big on veterans issues,
Yes.
homeless veterans, on taking care of them, making sure, and there's no doubt in my mind, as the mayor, and I'm talking as a retired Marine,
Yep.
that the veterans will be taken
I
care of in
wish you
your
would
state,
retire.
in your town.
You will never retire.
Don't say retarded.
All right, okay. And also, because we will not
I had to
mention-
throw that in, Chris, because I know where you stand
Thank
on
you.
the veterans.
Yeah, I
issue.
come from a military family.
Right.
My dad was
You do?
career Air
Yes.
Force.
Yes.
Yep, my both
Really? Really? I
grandfathers
didn't
were
know that.
military.
And I remember him
did too.
saying that before when I met him
Why
at
don't
the
you
chamber.
shut up and let him talk for God's sake?
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah,
I did 6 years of Army Guard myself, so I'm very naturally attuned to the interests and the values of our veterans here within the city. But you asked, why am I running for mayor? And you alluded to it already. When I was at the Chamber of Commerce, I was able to take a good business association and make it a great business association that has a very strong reputation up in Concord
That's
and
true.
down
That's
here
true.
in Nashua.
Yep.
What I want to do with the city of Nashua is take it from being a good city to a great city. We really are a good place right now to buy a home, to start a job, to move a company, to retire and settle down. But I think we could be a great place to do each of those things.
And I'll tell you what you're doing and what you have done, having been an aide to
the Senate.
To
Yep.
the Senate. You know Concord.
Yes.
We need a lot of stuff coming from Concord. I'm up in Concord. I know and have not necessarily agreed with you all
With
the
every
time,
issue, yep.
whatever issue. But we need someone like yourself to come in and say, this is important. If we need something, we're going to need help. Not that the former mayor hasn't done it, but I
Correct.
think that you can do it better only because you were up there.
Yeah, our current mayor, Donna Lee, as each of you know, served up in the State
Yes.
House herself for a
Yes.
number of years.
Yep.
So she was able to really effectively represent Nashua interests when needed. I think our next mayor needs to have that same
without
sort
a
of
doubt.
reputation and that same skill set. I have that in spades. I worked in the State House for 4 years. I represented the Nashua community for 9 years up in Concord. No one that's in this race right now knows that State House better than I do.
You know what's awesome is he understands the legislative process.
That's right.
And I know earlier we were talking that he had an interest in the 10-year plan, the transportation plan.
Yes.
On, trying to get as much money as you can for transportation issues.
Yes.
And I was impressed what you told me earlier, that you're going to fight for, Nashua to make sure they get every dollar. So that's awesome.
And something that you don't necessarily like, but we want rail.
Correct.
Into this. Now tell our audience and tell this gentleman over here why rail is important to the city, not only of Nashua, but to the state.
Thank you for that. And like you said a few minutes ago, you and I haven't always agreed on every issue. Al and I don't agree on every issue. But the point is we need someone who can have these sorts of conversations and be able to look at the
Without a
broader
doubt.
picture and find where we do have commonalities. On the issue of rail specifically, that is the single biggest economic development opportunity facing this part of New Hampshire in the next 10 years. If we can get rail up here into Nashua and into Manchester, we will be able to better attract mid-sized companies, larger companies that will bring with them very well-paying jobs here to our community. And each of you know this already because of your time up in Concord. When you look at where the business taxes in New Hampshire are generated, they're generated largely in Nashua and Manchester. So as go the Nashua and Manchester economies, so goes the entire state economy in terms of its business taxes. So rail means more companies. More companies mean more jobs. More jobs mean more business taxes. More business taxes means a stronger New Hampshire economy. That is why I'm a big proponent for passenger rail, because I feel it doesn't just benefit southern New Hampshire, it actually benefits the entire state.
You're absolutely right. And besides that, we do have an airport in Manchester.
We do.
And I know that Al may not agree completely on rail, but when it's put to the point where Manchester and Nashua, you are part of Manchester and Nashua, we're generating the money.
Well,
we're the ones who are basically paying the bills for a lot of other
Let me just
parts.
add something to this here. First of all, you keep trying to put words in my mouth, okay? I support
It's not
rail.
hard.
Now, wait a minute.
I'll tell you that right
I
now.
agree with the
Okay.
future mayor here, what he's saying here, okay? What my issues are, if it is going to be cost effective, then those companies, rail companies, will be kicking in the doors to build it. My issue is it's going to be subsidized by the taxpayers, and we're going to be spending more money taking out of mental health, taking from women's homeless shelters and other areas, the drug programs, to subsidize. Then I have an issue.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying?
What do you say about that,
I
Mr.
think
Mayor?
you could meet with those businesses, those real businesses, and get them to pay for that rail to come in.
Yeah. So if I can respond to that, I feel that when you get the economic development opportunities that are starting to happen around rail, when you get those companies here, you get the jobs in, you get the real estate development, you're going to see a larger return on business taxes through the BET, through the BPT coming in, property taxes certainly as well.
Right.
So I'm of the opinion that you're actually going to have more revenue available because of rail, which you can then turn back
But it's
into
gonna take
the
a little
operation.
while.
Right, it'll take
It
a
is.
while.
It's an
Okay.
investment.
Well, without a
Right.
doubt. And I honestly think if it's worth the while to the rail, then they would be more than happy, Massachusetts, to run their rail in here. You know,
But that's
and-
not
Because
completely.
don't you already have the tracks in Nashua?
We do. The
I
track
mean,
is already laid.
it's already
Yep.
there?
We currently have freight that runs up
We
and
do
down
have
Do you
that
have
freight.
track.
freight?
We
See,
do have
okay.
freight, yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
familiar with Nashua. yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do have
But
freight.
you know, Ronald Reagan once said, if you're with me 80% of the time, you're not my enemy.
Precisely.
He's with me only 30%, so he is my enemy. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah, well, you're lucky if you get that. You get that out
no,
of
that's
me.
awesome, Chris. I mean, you know, it sounds like you know what you want, and what's going to benefit. I can't speak on behalf of Nashua because I don't know.
I
Being
can
from
if you be
Londonderry.
quiet. I'd like
And
to.
he'll only lie, so I'd rather hear from you. So what else made you run for me? I mean,
Yeah, so we also have a tremendous opportunity facing Nashua in the next 5 years to renovate and resurrect our mill yard. It used to be back in the 1800s
That's right.
through the mid 1900s that the textile factories in Nashua really drove our economy. Much like in Manchester and in Lowell, you had the textile mills driving
right,
all of
yeah.
our local economies. Here in Nashua, when the textile mills moved out, we faced a big problem with our mill yard because unlike Manchester's mill yard, which is right on the highway, or Lowell's mill yard, which is accessible through the Lowell bypass, we don't have an easy way to get off the highway in Nashua and into our mill yard. That's changing. In the next 9 months, we have what is known as the Broad Street Parkway that is going to be finished and drivable, and that parkway is going to connect our highway at exit 6, where the Dairy Queen is, right into the heart of our mill yard.
wow, that's awesome.
It's tremendous.
Right, that's
We
awesome.
have 800,000 square feet of mill space that's just sitting there empty or underused right now.
And by the way, my uncle used to own National Industrial Machine for 50
That's right.
years.
You've told me this. Yes.
And it was 3 shifts he used to run.
Yeah.
3 shifts, you know, for like 40 years they did that. The mill yard is so important. And as you said, the problem is that our mill yard is sort of like in the middle of our city. So it's harder for, let's say, big trucks to come in and out because they've got to go basically through the city.
So residential.
Now with the parkway coming in, hey, listen, we have a great opportunity, and we need somebody to understand this. Now, I know your opponent, and we'll talk about him just in a moment, because I know him, and I like him. But I don't think he quite gets it the way you do, simply because of what you've done at the State House and also the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah. You know, my opponent actually speaks against the parkway and says that it's not a good investment.
Wow, that's-
Let me share a few examples of why it already is a good investment. If you're familiar with our Cotton Mill apartment building, that is a building that just opened last year. It sits right in the heart of our mill yard on the river, and it now has 109 apartment units in it.
Oh, that's awesome. I
They're,
didn't know that.
they're
Yeah.
fully occupied, and there's a wait list of 150 people waiting to get into that Cotton Mill apartment building. That building sat empty for 65 years
Wow.
and
So now
never
you're generating money,
Exactly.
taxes.
It never would have been redeveloped if it hadn't been for that Broad Street Parkway. The owner of that property has publicly said that many times. Another example, the district courthouse that sits right off of the mill yard. It's on a traffic circle right behind our downtown. That building was owned by the state, and it has sat empty for several years once the state consolidated its court
Yes.
practices.
Yeah.
That building, it's been on the market for sale for several years, and no one wanted it until the Broad Street Parkway was close to getting finished. Now, a private developer purchased that building, and now it's going to be back on the tax roll and
Wow, that's-
generating
that's
property
awesome.
tax
Right.
revenue.
That's right, because
the
it was
owner
a
of that
state
building.
no-brainer.
Exactly.
Do you know, I've been to Lawrence, the old mill buildings in Lawrence.
Yes.
What a beautiful job. Office space, they have restaurants, Salvatore's. I've gone, because I like the restaurant.
Yes.
You go into Manchester, all the different restaurants that have been built there. I go into Manchester at the different restaurants over there. It's a no-brainer.
It is.
I would come and spend money instead of,
In
like tonight, my
Nashua.
wife and I are going to Nashua at the mall. We're going to go to the restaurant over there to eat.
Yep, you would come downtown.
I would come
Yes.
downtown and
right,
go
yes.
check out, the restaurants or the shopping like
Precisely.
they have in Manchester.
Isn't that
and
interesting,
Lawrence.
though? Isn't that, because when you stop and think about it, my friend is going, in a sense, almost to Massachusetts.
Right.
If he knew new things were opening up,
Yeah.
he'd stay here.
Yeah, I'm glad you're staying in Nashua.
Right,
I would
yeah.
really like to have you be in the downtown or the mill yard, being able
Right.
to
Oh,
enjoy
without a
dinner
doubt.
with them as
My
well.
wife and I travel, different areas, but I meet family in Lawrence.
Yeah.
My son's a Marine Corps recruiter in Lowell, Lawrence area. So when we do go there, but I'm impressed with the buildings and how they preserved. Even
Things have
Manchester.
changed, yeah,
You
yeah.
go down to Fratello's in Manchester. I mean, it's a good Italian restaurant, but the way they did the buildings are unbelievable.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, Representative Ingbertson, who's one of our state reps.
Yes, I know him.
He
Yes.
has an art studio, and he teaches people art over there in the mill building.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could be doing the
Absolutely.
same thing here in Nashua.
In fact, we already have a building with about 30 artist studios in it,
Pickering
right
building.
in our mill yard,
Yeah.
the Picker building,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right. Oh, that's
Now,
awesome.
the reason that I think this is such an exciting opportunity for us to fill that mill yard, it isn't just because I think it's nice to have a full mill yard, even though I do. What it means is you're bringing more tax revenue
right.
into the city.
And into the state.
Exactly. If
We
you're
like
bringing,
that in the
and you
state.
like that
Yeah,
as a
that's
state
right.
representative.
On the state, yes.
So if you're bringing more tax revenue
Right.
into the city, then you're actually generating the revenue that you need to spend on good schools
Right.
and safe streets and paved sidewalks. So those are the priorities that we all have as residents. We want to be able to have each of those things, but you need tax revenue to cover the cost of those. Well, I'm not going to raise the tax rate, which means I need to find tax dollars. The best way to find tax dollars without increasing taxes is to bring more taxpayers into
That's
Nashua.
awesome, right.
And that, what I mean by that is bring businesses into
Well,
the city.
hopefully you're happy with the Republican budget there, what we did, where we dropped
No,
down.
don't get involved with that.
No, I don't want you to
now.
touch on that, but
He doesn't have much
what I'm going to try to tell you, on
time.
your
Don't-
vision,
Yep.
we dropped the BET tax.
Yep.
And within the next couple of years, it's supposed to attract businesses here, and Nashua will benefit from that there.
Well,
That's
I'll
all
let
I
you
wanted
guys.
to touch
I'll
on
let, I'll
that.
let you guys fight
we'll-
out.
we-
the,
we- we'll-
On the
we'll
next
fight
show,
this
we'll
out.
fight that out because he voted against
Well,
it
well,
before
first-
he voted for it.
Okay, first I just want people to know that I've known Jim Dodges for a long time. I have voted for Jim Dodges. But Jim Dodges, sadly, about 4 or 5 years ago, was with a law firm, and there was something called FRM, Financial Resource Mortgage. And these were people who got caught into an enormous bad scheme. This firm, Dodges and his partner, became the attorneys to do the bankruptcy. And the big thing of that was they could have been really nice to people who had already been through it, and it was awful. They weren't. And these people feel really bad. So I can't vote for Jim Dodges. I just can't. So I am going to vote for you. I'm letting everybody know that, and everybody knows why. But to start to hear, and knowing that what you've done here in the city of Nashua, growing, the Chamber of Commerce, which was always an important part of the city, but to take it and to make it New Hampshire-wide, and to spend a lot of time up in Concord, I can't think of anyone else who would be a better mayor.
Well, thank you. And I don't know a whole lot about that particular issue, but here's what I do know is that when Jim Dodges was the mayor in the 1980s, he was the mayor for 7 years, about 30 years ago. The average tax rate increase in Nashua every year was over 8%.
Wow.
So Jim's got a clear record of
Tax
letting
and
the
spend
tax
up.
rate increase from year to year.
Right.
He actually ran for Congress in 1988 as a sitting mayor. That year, the tax rate increased over 15% in our city. That's tremendous. If you're on a tight budget, especially if you're on a fixed income as a senior citizen, or if you're a young professional and you're buying your first home, your average property taxes might be, somewhere around the $4,000 mark. If you have a 15% increase on top of
that's a
that,
big number.
that's a significant escalation in your property taxes.
Okay, so quite simply, for 3 consecutive times, he has raised taxes, 8, 8, and 15. I mean, we can't afford that. I mean, and I think he was asked this question at a debate, and he said that the alderman thought that he could even add more, or should have put more, or taken more taxes, or something really foolish. We just can't have anybody raising taxes. He's proven, he's been mayor once, that's fine, we tried it, he's raised the taxes, let's move on, let's try you.
Right.
Yeah. And my preferred approach is, rather than increasing the tax rate, let's work on increasing the tax base, the number of people that are coming into Nashua and paying taxes. And when I say bring people in, I'm not necessarily saying let's bring in a whole bunch of new residential neighborhoods. Instead, I'm saying let's bring businesses, let's
right.
bring companies
I
into the
agree.
city. You guys know this because of your
Agree 100%,
experience at the
that's
State
right.
House.
Yes.
The average company that owns property in Nashua, they pay 10 times the amount of property taxes that the average homeowner pays. So that's what I want to focus on.
Yeah.
You get a whole lot more bang for your buck when you bring in businesses. Not only do they bring in that property tax expenditure to the city, they also bring the jobs with them,
Right.
and the income for our residents who need jobs. And they bring in infrastructure improvements to the city as well. So having my experience for 9 years at the Chamber of Commerce, where I spent a lot of my time working to bring companies into the city,
Right.
you're going to have a mayor who knows the language of today's companies and what they need,
and
rather
be-
than
and
companies of 30 years
besides
ago.
that, you had 3 mayors, former mayors. One was
Mo Orell, Bernie
Mo Orell,
Streeter,
that's
and
right.
Don Davidson, 2 Republicans and a Democrat. All 3 endorsed my campaign.
well, I mean, these.
That's
By the way, these
unbelievable. That's
these
awesome.
3 mayors were extremely popular too.
They were, yes. Mo Orell was mayor just before Jim Donches.
Yeah.
And then Don Davidson followed a couple of years after Jim Donches.
He's been
and
mayor
then-
several times.
That's a couple times.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yep. And then, of course, Bernie Streeter, from 2000 through 2008.
In
Yes.
fact, Bernie Street is one of the reasons why this station is here. And
The TV
also,
station,
we did
yes.
the first show with Bernie Street and myself. And
Oh,
Richard.
did you? Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
the very first live show in here.
Nice.
So, and we'd like to get Bernie back, matter of fact. I
Okay.
hope he's feeling well. We know that he's been sick.
Yep. I saw him recently. He's doing well.
Well, I'm
Yes.
very happy to hear that. He was one of the good guys.
Yes.
I had fun with him anyway. Yeah,
I would imagine you guys sparred a few times as
oh,
well.
God, it was funny.
I've actually met your mayor a few times. I've came in as being a veterans activist, came in for some of your ceremonies that you have here
Okay.
on your common. And I mean, it's been second to none. I mean, unbelievable the job Griff Delanis did here in,
Griff,
in your
sure.
town. I worked hand in hand with him.
His
Great
wife
guy.
is the
Supreme
Yeah,
Court
Linda
Justice.
Delanis.
Yeah.
But Griff is a great guy, and Jesus, hopefully they put a, honor that guy for everything he's done in the fight for veterans issues. So,
been a long time.
but I'm glad to see that now that Nashua's going to have a mayor that's a veteran, a National Guard guy,
And who grew up in
and grew up in
a
Nashua.
family.
So I'm
military
motivated
family.
even that much more
And
now.
guess what? He's
I-
almost convinced you of the importance of rail.
Oh, well, no.
It'll take a
I
while.
imagine we'll have a lot more
we'll
conversation
have a
on
lot
that.
more. And I honestly believe, because he understands working with businesses, and there's no doubt in my mind that he'll go to the real business, the ones that own those real, and entice them why they want to invest in Nashua.
There is no question in my mind, and I think this is the type of person we need. Again, I knew the former mayor. I just think after seeing you up in Concord, I've been up there for 8 years. I've seen you almost every year up there with some project. This is important. You need to understand what's taking place up in Concord in advance.
Oh, without a
because
doubt.
you know, as the budgets come down, it is important to get a few things necessary for Nashua. And by the way, I say this all the time. Nashua still, I believe, sends more to the Treasury than any city in the
stop your
state.
whining,
All
will ya?
right?
Stop your whining.
where
It is
Stop
true.
the whining.
It is true.
I know,
Yeah.
but where
I
he
hear
lives,
this from his mouth all the time. Do you know, Chris, this is the first time in a long time we actually agreed on something.
Really?
On supporting you. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So normally we disagree on everything because
okay.
it was up to
Make
him.
sure
he'd
you
have
watch that hand
watch
before
your,
you leave. I gotta
when you
go
sit
say
next to
that.
him, watch your wallet,
Yeah.
okay? Because he'll want to tax and take more money out of your pocket.
But he does bring up an important fact that Nashua does drive more business tax dollars
Well, you're a
to
big
Concord
city.
than any
Well,
other.
let
Yeah.
him finish.
Yeah.
Let him go ahead.
And for that reason, that I intend to make sure that Nashua has a strong voice in Concord.
Without a
Again,
doubt.
Yeah, I think
But you-
Donnelly's done
but
a
you
good
wanna
job.
know
with that.
something.
It's going to be people like my friend over here also, who understands. He lives in a small town, a nice town, but he also understands that the big cities are the money makers.
Yes.
And he's not he's foolish, but not dumb.
What I
Okay.
want to make sure that
Here
you
we go.
understand
Down
on
on
how I
his books.
support Nashua, and I'm probably going to vote for this here, because looking at this here, with all the projects here coming to Nashua,
And that is the
the
DOT.
Department of Transportation,
Yep.
it looks like there's about $25 million with the projects.
Mm-hmm.
So your money's coming back, so stop your whining. Okay?
Don't point
Your money's
again.
coming
I-
back.
I broke your
But
finger once before.
So, Chris, what's the first thing as a mayor that you're planning? What
Get rid of
first
Ken
day in
Gibbs.
office? Chris,
No, no.
Chris, what's the first day in office here?
Our downtown really
Downtown?
needs some significant help right now. A lot of people feel our downtown is suffering. We've seen a dozen different restaurants and shops over
Right.
the past several years close down, move out. We have a big anchor store that's going to be moving out at the beginning of next year, and that's Alex Shoes. They're going to be moving to another part of the city. So job number one for me is focusing on our downtown, starting to put together some resources so that people can feel there is a sense of what we can do together
Right.
to put downtown on the map again and make people proud of the downtown the way that we have been in the past.
And I'll tell you, I've lived here my entire life so far, and downtown on Thursday night used to be That was it. I mean, we always went downtown. The big stores weren't here. But anybody coming in must pay attention to downtown because it is.
Without a doubt.
It is sad, and I think of the two, you seem to be more connected, and you keep the downtown. I have only one complaint with the downtown, and they're those kiosks where you park.
Yes.
I'm sorry to say, when you pull up and there's a meter, you get out and you put the money in. Now you've got to go to the kiosk, walk up, put a credit card or change in, walk back, put it on your, on your dashboard, and then they don't plow the sidewalks all the time, so it's very difficult. So I'm sorry.
No, that's a legitimate concern, and I actually share the opinion that we don't have enough of those kiosks.
My God.
What I'd like to do eventually, once we start to have the funds to do so, is look into putting 2 of those kiosks per block rather than the 1 per block that we currently
Well,
have.
of course, you got somebody like him that his wife probably won't give him the credit card, so he needs ones with the meters. You know what I'm saying? So if he opened his wallet, moth would fly out of it.
I won't comment on his home
No, I
life,
will, but I mean, but you know what I'd like to see in Nashua, and somebody from the outside. When I drive from Londonderry and go through Litchfield, Hudson into Nashua
Yes.
off of 101.
Yes.
Some of them areas there where you got some garages, the houses, they look, I feel like I'm in a combat zone. You know what I mean? When I grew up, we had housed areas like
you know
that.
what- you
Let
know
me
what-
finish before you cut in. We had a
Well, I'm not cutting
redevelopment
in. I'm trying
program
to explain
where we
something.
help property owners fix their properties. But I mean, if you take a look at, I'm an outsider looking in.
Yep.
It might be something maybe to take a look at. Do you know what I'm saying? You got a little Dunkin' Donuts on the side.
I know exactly what you're saying, but what's going to happen when the Parkway comes in? I think things are going to change. First of all, there's only one way for you to get from where you live through Hudson, let's say get up to the highway Route 3. Now you're going to be able to go over, get on a Parkway and drive right out of the city, drive right into the city.
Yeah, but see, if Route 3 is busy, I come in the back way from Londonderry, up through, in through Hudson, that area there. And it's beautiful in Hudson, Litchfield, until you get into this area where just before you get to the, the turnway there, the turn on to the overpass.
Yeah.
And you look at some of the homes down there, it's like people just don't want to take care of their homes. And I remember when my grandfather was the mayor of Cambridge, Mass., they put in some type of redevelopment program where they help the poor homeowners better, make their houses and property look
With
better.
this mayor coming in, I have a feeling that we're going to see a lot of this. He's more connected to the
Right.
state, more connected to the city.
Oh, there's
done
no doubt.
with the Chamber of Commerce, all the businesses that you have done and helped everyone out. This is very important. We got a minute
Right.
and 2 seconds. How can people get in touch with you?
Thank you. And you are commenting on the inner city, and
Right.
that is very much on top of my mind. And because what the issues are in the inner city, those are issues that are also tied into the heroin epidemic that we're seeing, the increase in
Yes,
drug abuse,
right.
and the crimes that are related to drug use as well. So as an outside observer, thank you for sharing that viewpoint, and we do need to work on that, and I intend to do that.
Right, awesome.
If people want to learn more about what my positions are, what my background is, they can go online to my website. It's movenashuaforward.com, and that message of Move Nashua Forward is based upon my belief that we've sort of been treading water here in Nashua for a while. We've been afraid to think big and take some new opportunities. So Move Nashua Forward is a message of let's make some progress.
Thank you for coming, really.
Thank you
We
very
really
much,
appreciate
Awesome.
it.
Al,
Yeah,
thank you
Chris,
very
it's
much
a
for your
pleasure. I'm
time.
glad we got an opportunity
And I
to meet
want-
again.
I want people
and
to
thank you
know-
for your service, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you for yours.
Military.
Thank you.
I want people to know right now that I'm endorsing you.
Thank you, Ken.
So
Thank you.
Anyway, thank you. And we'll see you.
As a veteran, I'm endorsing them also.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.